Our thoughts and prayers go out to the family of a beautiful 20-year-old Sarah Beckstrom, who answered the call to serve her nation. And she volunteered, and she ended up being shot ambush style on the cold streets of Washington, D.C. By an individual who will now be charged with murder in the first degree. There are certainly many more charges to come, but we are upgrading the initial charges of assault to murder in the first degree.
U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, Jeanine Pirro, joining us just moments ago, announcing her office has upgraded the murder charge against Rahmanullah Lakhanwal, the Afghan national accused of shooting 2 National Guard members and killing 1. Let's bring in West Virginia Senator Shelley Moore Capito. And Senator, I know that this horrific tragedy has hit your state so hard because these 2 brave individuals were from your great state. Your reaction to Jeanine Pirro's comments right there.
Well, it has been a difficult several days, and our hearts and prayers go out for the Beckstroms and also for Andrew's family as well. Losing her was a tragedy beyond belief. I agree with the district attorney that we should be pressing the ultimate charges, the death penalty for someone who has attacked our National Guard on the streets of Washington, D.C. I think that she is right on track here, and I think the American people will definitely support these charges. It's a horrific attack, a terrorist attack on our peacekeepers. Sarah and Andrew were there to keep peace in our capital city, to be a part of the presence there so that it could be safer, and they were taken down by the very thing they were trying to prevent.
And this tragedy has brought vetting of foreign nationals back into the spotlight. Here is what Jeanine Pirro had to say about that.
There was no vetting. If you think there was vetting, I have a bridge to sell you. If you saw the chaos that was going on at that airport in Kabul, in Afghanistan, it was typical of what was going on in the Biden administration. And the Pentagon, I believe it was Kirby and people in the Biden administration said the Afghan withdrawal that we all know was disastrous was a success. And that's a quote. They called that a success. That chaos is not a success. That is a nightmare. So let's stop namby-pambing around with this, oh, he was vetted. There was no vetted.
And in the moments following the attack, President Trump came out and said, look, we need to vet every single one of those Afghan nationals who came here in the chaos following what happened in August and throughout 2001. As a senator, how can our government accomplish that goal, or can they, Senator?
Well, I think several years ago when this was occurring, when the chaos of the exit, the abominable exit out of Afghanistan, we actually did present to a bill that would say these folks need to be vetted. We didn't know who they were. It was happening so fast. It was so chaotic. And this is the aftermath of what you see of poor policies, of poor of the inability to vet people, understanding that a country like Afghanistan, it would be difficult to vet people anyway because of the systems there. But we should have known. We should know who they are. And we should protect ourselves and others from this terrorist mentality that has been brought into our country by so many.
And you have to envision that it's not just the individuals from Afghanistan. The entire Biden administration, immigration, people coming into our country illegally, it happened chaotically on both borders and even not through our borders. So it's something we need to pay attention to. There's also the fact that your colleagues on the other side of the aisle have been engaging in inflammatory rhetoric for months following Donald Trump authorizing National Guards to visit and stay in not just Washington, D.C., but cities throughout our country. Let's take a listen to some of what they have said about National Guard troops in our cities.
I don't think you have an armed militia in the nation's capital.
The president is attempting to send the National Guard to send and terrorize cities.
Out of places like Chicago. It makes me incredibly nervous that we're about to see people in law enforcement, people in uniform military get nervous, get stressed, shoot at American civilians.
Senator, what is your message to your Democrat colleagues when it comes to rhetoric on what our National Guard troops are doing in our cities?
Well, we've had National Guard troops in the capital city since August. The crime statistics are way down. Every single guard, I wonder if my colleagues ever walked around the city and talked to the Guard members who were there. These were folks who had volunteered for the service, had volunteered to serve our country. And basically what they were doing was freeing up and what they are doing is freeing up the Metropolitan Police in D.C. to be able to deal with the more criminal crime elements in the city, which were running rampant in the city. So I would question whether my colleagues ever took the time to stop at Union Station, talk to a West Virginia guardsman, and ask them, what are you seeing? How do you feel about this? What types of incidents have you had? There was no pulling out of weapons and weaponizing our National Guard. These were presents that were there to indicate to citizens, to visitors, to dignitaries, to whoever's in the capital city, that peace is there and you're going to feel safe. And I reject this hyperbolic rhetoric that they put forward. I don't think they spent 1 minute talking to anybody in the streets of D.C.
Certainly a valid question. Before we let you go, we've talked about the policy aspect of this. There's certainly the human aspect. What are West Virginians doing to rally behind these two grieving families right now?
You know, West Virginians are a strong bunch. Sarah went to a small school, Webster County High School. She lived in Summersville. These are very small communities who always wrap their arms around. I've seen so much on social media about the prayers and the warmth coming from those families. Andrew's went to Musselman High School from the Eastern Panhandle near Martinsburg. His classmates, his teachers, his counselors, his principal, his family have all been reaching out and trying to comfort one another. When this hits one West Virginian, it hits all, and particularly in service to our country.
Now, it's not just West Virginians praying for Andrew right now. It's the entire nation praying that he makes it through. Senator Shelley Moore Capito, thank you. We're praying for you as well.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.